Hello humanoids, welcome to Halfling Hobbies. I'm Halfling Hannah, and let me be the first one to say that right now, taking a proficiency in a game set sucks. Unless you just have an awesome DM or you are an awesome DM, right now it never comes up, it's rarely used, and it just seems like a waste of space. However, I have been at work thinking long and hard about how to change that. How can we make gaming set proficiencies actually interesting and useful in our games? If you know anything about me, you know I hate to have useless things on a character sheet. So if it's there, I want it to have some role in my game. Now, I'm not saying that this will be, super useful in combat or that you will use this every session. I'm just saying that this could be an interesting way to bring in those proficiencies that we haven't been so far. So my idea is this, and I'm not sure if I'm a genius or if I'm absolutely crazy. But what if you actually played the game at the table? What if you had mini games that your players could take a proficiency in, and every so often they might come across one of those games being played in a tavern, and the actual real life player could play that game. Now, I know right now you're like,
whoa, wait, what about the proficiencies? What about the rolls?
Well, I've actually come up with a way to include those in a physical game, and I am super, super excited about it. Imagine your D&D session becoming poker night, or playing an actual drinking game during your session. That is what we are going to be talking about today, and I am super excited about it. So, here we go. Alrighty, Dungeon Masters, the first thing that I always do is I ask you a question that I would love if you would answer in the comments down below. I want these videos to be as helpful as possible or as fun as possible to people who find them in the future, so please answer this question in the comments down below. Have you ever created an in-game game? Something that your players do throughout the game or that they do at certain places. It could be anything from Monster Bingo to Eldritch Blast shots. I only did that one once. Trust me, that was enough. So tell me, have you ever created an in-game game? And what was it? How did it go? Let me know in the comments down below. Alright, Dungeon Masters, first let's talk about a game proficiency. Right now, certain backgrounds allow you to take a proficiency in a gaming set. This can be 3-Dragon Ante or dice or something of that kind. You write it on your character sheet, you have that gaming set, and then it never comes up again. If you're like me, if your players ask if there's a card game going on in the tavern, you say, yeah, absolutely, and they sit down and they go, okay, I want to cheat. Great, roll a sleight of hand. Okay, that's high enough. You win. Roll a D100, however much gold throughout the course of the night. And that's it. And it's really lame. And I feel like, especially at low levels, having a proficiency in a gaming set should actually be very beneficial to the party. It should be a great way that they can earn some really quick cash or get chased out of town. Either way, super interesting for your campaign. So, how can we make these gaming sets more interesting? Well, first of all, I have 7 of these mini games, is what I'm kind of calling them. And what I would do if I was the DM who was wanting to add this into my campaign is I would say, okay, you get a proficiency in a gaming set. Here are the 7 that you can choose from. Choose one of them. And then you have these actual games that you can play during the course of your campaign. Now, this isn't every single tavern. This isn't every single session. What I would do is I would have these go on when things have gotten a little dry, or maybe after a particularly difficult boss or series of sessions, when you need just some lighthearted fun. That's when I would add in some of these games. Now, let's get into how they work. So what I have done is I've looked at the game and I've looked at how you can get advantage at the game itself in one way or another. And I've linked that to different skills. What your players do is during the actual live play of the game, they're going to roll like normal, add their bonuses like normal, And if they succeed on a check, then they get advantages to the game that they're playing. But if they fail at that check, they get some consequences or disadvantages to the physical game that they're actually playing. And the best way to explain this is to simply show you. So I've broken this down into some different categories of skills. So here are the 7 games in their categories. We're going to start off easy with the category of cards. Of course, this is going to be sleight of hand. You roll a high sleight of hand, you can trade out a card for any card of your choice. You roll a bad sleight of hand, though, you attempt to do this and you get caught. And you get to decide how the NPC would react to that. Will they throw them out of the tavern? Will they try to fight them? Will they just say, hey, none of that. Now let's get down to it. That's my best NPC voice. And it's terrible. So the first card game is actually 3 Dragon Ante. Did you know that Wizards of the Coast actually makes this game? Because I didn't, and I've been missing out. So they actually make this beautiful, really cool card game that includes the little token pieces. Here's how 3 Dragon Ante works, in case you don't know, like I didn't know. So basically what you have is you have 5 cards in your hand. There's a variety of different kinds, but they have different strength levels. That's the important part to know. You also have a hoard of gold in your possession, and you use that hoard of gold to bet on if you think you have the highest strength hand or not. It goes in rounds of 3 cards. This is called a gambit. So what you do is you play a card, and the next person plays a card, and so on. And you look at who has the strongest card. The strongest card gets their ability on that card. And you continue this until everyone has 3 cards on the table. The strongest set of 3 gets all the gold that's in the pot. You continue until a player runs out of gold, and the person who collects all the gold is the big winner. Now, obviously, you can see how this could make your players a lot of money, or it could lose your players a lot of money if one of them has a gambling problem but rolls really poorly. Again, for a sleight of hand check on this, the player can take a card out of their hand, put it back in their deck, shuffle through, find a card that they want, and add it to their hand. This works like kind of bottom dealing off of a deck, if you were actually doing sleight of hand, and adds that advantage that they normally would have. The next card game that you could play with a sleight of hand check is very simply poker. Just get a normal set of cards. You can play Texas Hold'em, you can play five card poker, or even blackjack. It depends on what you're comfortable with and what you enjoy playing. I love the idea of having an actual poker game because you could have poker tournaments at a tavern when the players walk in, and all of the players could participate in this tournament and either win or lose a whole bunch of gold. Again, this is a great way to try and get some of that gold back if you've given a little bit too much. Let them have some fun and gamble. Again, this is a sleight of hand check. If they succeed, they can discard a card and choose and draw a card of their choice from the deck. I love the idea of poker because so many good roleplay opportunities can happen during poker. You can have charisma checks in this to try and deceive someone or bluff someone. You can have insight checks to try and tell if someone's trying to bluff them. There's a whole bunch of different perception and different skill checks that you can do within poker. And poker is a slow-paced game, so you can ask for these rolls and do all that. And it adds another element of randomness to it because it's an actual card game, which is random in and of itself, which I think would be a super fun idea, and I'm definitely going to be doing this in my game in the future. Next up, moving away from card games, we have dice games. So have you ever seen Pirates of the Caribbean where they play liar's dice? That's an actual game. I have it and I love it. It is so much fun. I love to play it. But basically, each player at the table has a cup with a bunch of dice in it. You shake the cup with the dice, you put it on the table face down, and you don't let anybody see your dice. You open it up and you count how many that you have. So the actual number. So if you got 3 6s, then that's 18 plus 2 1s, so you got 20, right? in your cup. And then you lie about what that number is. And it's just a really fun game. If you want the full instructions, I've got links down in the description below to where you can pick up your own set of Liar's Dice, but also the instructions to it. I'm going to have all of these games going forward down in the description below. But these aren't affiliate links at all. I promise. Nobody likes me that much. Sad day. But you can just pick them up. I just thought that they were super fun. So this one, I think, would be really cool to use the lucky feat with, because as a halfling, or if you take the lucky feat, you can reroll once. So why not allow them to do that in dice as well? They can choose any ones to turn to any number that they want. This also, you could do a sleight of hand check to do the same thing, but this one specifically is going to want charisma because you are lying. So your charisma deception check becomes huge at this point, and your insight check on the other people at the table is also huge. So that's how you would play that one. Next up, you have skill games. Okay, this one's where it's kind of out of the box and I need you to just kind of go with it, okay? I think this could be super fun, but again, I could just be crazy. So bounce battle. So basically you have ping pong balls, right? And you've got these wooden stakes and you're trying to bounce them into 4 in a row. So it's you versus one other person. So how in the world is this supposed to have a skill check to it? Well, this is a dexterity game. And if you roll a high dexterity, then super high, you can just place the ball where it's supposed to be. Fairly high, then you get advantage. You can bounce the same ball twice instead of just once, trying to get to the place that you want. If you fail, however, you actually have to move back on your bounce, and you have to bounce from further away to try and get it in there, making it much more difficult. The next one is called hooks. I'd never heard of this one when I was researching, and I found this and I thought it was super, super fun. So basically you've got this little thing, right? And you've got a little ring on a string and you're trying to get it to stick on the hook in the middle, and you're playing against another person. They make one that's 2-player and they make one that's 4-player as well. And when you get the hook on, then you move the shot glass towards your opponent. If they get a hook on, then they move it back towards you. And it's basically whoever can hook on the most amount of times the quickest. Because if you get the shot glass all the way to your opponent, then they have to take a shot. This is how it works with dexterity check. So at any point you can pause, roll a dexterity check. If you succeed on that dexterity check, your opponent has to wait for 3 seconds before they can try and hook on again. If you fail, then you have to wait for 3 seconds before you get to continue trying to flip the ring onto the hook. I think this one is just super fun and lighthearted, and I'm definitely going to be using this in one of my taverns in the ebook that I'm making. In case you didn't know, I am making an ebook that's going to be Merchants and Tavern Keeps. These are one-page NPC DM binder resources that you can keep in your binder and use at any time. You've got a page for the NPC and you've got a page for their tavern, and I'm totally going to be including some of these games in the tavern so that you know which tavern has these available and your players can play them if you want to. That's coming out the end of April. So subscribe here and hit the notification bell and I will let you know when my ebook goes live, or you can join the DMs League mailing list and I'll send you an email when that goes live. Either way, if that's something you're interested in, make sure that you plug in somewhere. Okay, so those skill games are really just lighthearted and fun, and something that taverns would have just as a drinking game. They're not going to be super serious. They're just going to be little drinking games, which is very, very fun. And then finally, we have the classic games. These are going to rely on athleticism and perception. I've tried to include games that hit all of the skill sets, so it's not just the rogue being sneaky with sleight of hand all the time. So the first one is classic The Shell Game, and you can actually pick this up on Amazon. That includes the little magic book on how to deceive people with the shell game. And so how this works is successful perception check, then you do it slower. A fail on your perception check, you do it faster, and you include the magic tricks to make it even harder for them to see where the P is. And then the last one is darts. This magnetic board of darts is a great option to just put up and take down and not worry about your players putting holes in your wall, especially if they did the hook game before they went to play darts. So it's just a little magnetic board, and this is an athleticism check. If they succeed, then they can move closer to the board. If they fail, they have to move further away. Game proficiencies don't have to be lame. They can actually be a really fun and lighthearted part of your game that your players will talk about and enjoy for a long time to come. So tell me, am I crazy or am I a genius? Probably crazy. But if you do end up using any of these, I would really love to know how it went in your game. If your players loved it, if they hated it and it was kind of lame, please let me know down in the comments below. Game proficiencies, I really think, can be really fun, and I certainly hope that they are in your game. And until next time, my friends, may your game have advantage. Halfling Hannah here, signing out.